Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I hope you are well. Let us speak. Um, so very interesting, a lot of things that I was just taking a look at the chart. Um, and there's this thing that I've noticed is I I tend to have with like a lot of my clients like something really important in common, right? Um, and it's like what brings them to me. It's always interesting for me to see like what that is, because there's always something like and a lot of times it's like the south node and north node being in opposite signs, but other times like for you it's your ascendant being conjunct my moon, and that's what I see so far, and your Pluto in the 12th house and me being a Pisces. But yeah, there's a lot of, and then your Jupiter trining my North Node and my Venus and my Mars. So there's a lot of conjunctions we have, but that isn't the point of this. The point of this is for me to hide your last name and to, oh yeah, you're the one from Kazakhstan, Almaty, Kazakhstan. And actually, no, you actually had special requests. Okay, just initials. Okay, yeah. Got you. And my eyes are very red right now. It's not because I'm tired, it's because I I'm just gonna call you like I don't know, I was thinking of a funny name. No, initials is fine. No, I was just like coming off escaping being sick, which I did. You can kind of hear my voice a little bit too. I'm trying not to talk too loud because my girlfriend is asleep, or she's probably waking up pretty soon, but I'm trying not to make too much noise as it is very, very late. But me as an artist, yeah, as a creative, whatever you want to call it, like I can't choose when I get my creative juices flowing. And it's 6 a.m. But um like what are you supposed to do? Just not take advantage of it when it's there? Like I can't do that. I just can't. Um One quick second. Esme. Okay, here's Esme the cat. Okay, so I need to open up. Here's Esme the cat. Mm, I need to open up your email. My internet's just being so slow. It's ridiculous. In Romania, we have like the best internet in the world, but not today. Okay, here it is. So let's see what I see. So you don't have like the exact birth time for sure, or did you precise it? No. Yeah, you weren't really sure. Um, okay, so your Instagram's here. I need to write that down actually. Is this stuff like buying my computer? This is my last August reading, which is a big deal. Big deal. Stop, Esme. She's like pushing my hands and typing. Yeah, it's been a while. It's taken me quite a while to get through. August is a huge month. Every month's been July or September is massive too, and November is massive also. Oof. Anyways, I'm very, very grateful for it. Okay, so let me just read this really quickly. So yeah, so you're in Jersey now. Was truthful. Oh, I'm so sorry that you had that not relationship, that you had that experience with someone who's like any like rule A of astrology is like I'm not gonna tell you to do anything. Like I'm not gonna tell you to do anything. I'm gonna explain to you what I see, and I'm just gonna kind of explain to you when it comes to love, like what your kind of like I guess you could say like highest energy in love would be. Um, like what that looks like what your needs are and all that stuff. Okay, so as in okay, I'm not gonna say what happened. That's fucking horrible. Understand myself deeper and gain varying perspectives on my chart without using the information against me in some ways. I'm looking to uncover information on my karmic blueprint. Came to the right guy. I feel the purpose. Yep, purpose. I just made a video about that or a post. Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's basically like exactly what I do, regardless. So start off, Sag rising, Capricorn moon conjunct Neptune and Saturn, and also Vesta's there too. So and even Uranus. So you have like three three outers and Vesta conjunct your moon. And then your sun is in Taurus conjunct Ceres, which is interesting. When you have Ceres, well, actually no, Ceres moon, yeah, but it is actually interesting. The Ceres conjunct sun. And then yeah, Pluto in 12th house, 8th house Chiron, and North Node in Pisces, of course. So it's difficult for me not knowing, the birth time exactly. Like, I mean, I know in lots of countries, including Romania and even France back in the day, it was like done in 15-minute intervals, right? Um, so if you're born at like, let's say, uh, I guess in US talk, it'd be like let's say like 12:07 a.m. They would have just written 12:15. So it's we just have to have faith that that's correct or that's close enough. But when it comes to like the fixed stars for the angles, that's like the only thing that can't really be used. um, which is a shame because actually no, it's not a shame. You don't really have any that are like center in midheaven that's like that close to. I mean, yeah, if you were born like I don't know, an hour earlier, you could have Antares rising, but yeah. So, anyways, you have that nice sun moon trine. Um, it's a very, very pleasant placement, obviously, and it just makes it so, and I'm gonna share the chart or share the screen, by the way. And go. Yeah, so this combination, right? Of sun and moon trining each other is like if you are a ship or a boat, metaphorically. I speak a lot of metaphors, right? I think it works hand in hand with astrology, and that's just how I am. um, by the way, like when I put myself on this like not showing my face, oftentimes like holding crystals, closing my eyes, meditating, like I'm doing stuff that like I've noticed that like I just sometimes just don't want to be on camera. It's that simple. Um, and because you got or no, you didn't get the follow up, did you? Well, I guarantee you by the end you'll I mean I can't guarantee, but nearly everyone and I forget like when I saw when you bought this, if I was doing like a special that was like option A, just the reading, option B, the reading plus the follow up, and you chose that other option of just the reading. But nearly what everyone does is they get the reading and follow up. And I just introduced the idea um, just recently now of combining current astrology with the follow up. So it creates this like very magical reading where we've gone through all of this, right? And then we have a live session. The first hour is the follow up. We go over everything, and then we go straight from that into the current astrology, which is obviously completely and utterly like a whole different ball game, right? So yeah, you'll know by the end if you, and of course I'll give you very good price and whatnot, reduction for that, but you'll know by the end, towards the end of this reading, if that's something you want to do or not. But I just want to tell you about it because I don't know what I told you and what I haven't told you about what I do. So okay, um, so yeah, back to what I was saying before. Um, having the double Earth is very, very pleasant. And it creates people who especially in Earth is all about balance and consistency, right? So what I found with heavily Earth people, and when we look at the rest of your chart, you've got fire. We think we hope that you have a fire sun. You have air with your Mars and Gemini, and you just don't have any water. But because you have and the interesting thing about not having water is that your North Node, which is like the real, the biggest karmic part of the chart where you're trying to get in this lifetime, is in Pisces. So when I see that, and when I say no water, yeah, like yeah, you have Chiron and Cancer. I'm talking about inner planets and inner points, right? Like the big six, big three plus Venus, Mercury, and Mars, and Jupiter. kind of like a middle planet. But yeah, like so you don't have like yeah, I mean I guess you do have a lot of Earth. So this is the thing with Earth, like pros, consistency. It creates a very consistent person, someone who can um like count on themselves to be a very similar version of themselves day after day, which is amazing, obviously. Um, I don't have that luxury. I have no Earth in my chart. And also, there's this real, yeah, yeah, like I said, it's real. Just grabbing water really quick. Try to find one. It's like glass. Long story to even try to understand why glass is floating in my thing. But uh, let's stop one second. Sorry. Okay. Okay, water acquired. Okay. Okay, I'm good. And this so yeah, with water, like the pros are like, or with Earth, excuse me, the pros are this consistency, ability to kind of like wake up each day and kind of be a similar version of yourself. Um, you know, having a fire ascendant means that you're able to self-start and then really, really like continue over the long haul at what you do. And having being a moon in Taurus or a sun in Taurus, moon in Capricorn, it means that those two parts of yourself support each other. It also often means that the relationship between your parents is a positive one, and that they reinforce their overall mission statements to you, if you will, are reinforcing as opposed to contradicting. Um, so it usually means that they're like a very, very nice relationship between mother and father, which obviously is very, very good for the psychology of the kid. Now, um, too much earth though can really like the key word that comes to me is stagnancy. It can create a level of stagnancy and sometimes even boringness. Like when that person isn't willing to take risks in their life. Um, and also closed-mindedness is another thing. But the fact that you have your Mars in Gemini, this will push a lot of this away. Um, and I was speaking about, lacking water, right? Now, as I mentioned, you have your moon right here conjunct Neptune. So this is going to basically make up for that because it's your closest conjunction to your moon of a planet. And I want to check the, let's see if the declination. Ooh, so you have an out of bounds moon like me. Nice. And you have a parallel. Ooh, you have a Jupiter and 21, Mercury and Neptune. Okay, so you have a contraparallel. It's something I've just been learning lately. This Neptune and Mercury, yeah. Anything else? Yeah, so a contraparallel parallel with Mercury and Neptune can create a sort of it can be kind of like a Mercury opposite Neptune, and it can create confusion of the mind a little bit, and just seeing reality through like a distorted view, I guess you could say. It can create that, but also like super creative potential, super creative. But there can definitely be like paranoia and like a interesting way of seeing things and communicating. Vagueness sometimes too. But then you have you have the moon. Is it Mars? Yep, and Uranus that are, what's the word I just learned? Out of bound. Yeah, out of bounds. So those planets, so some out of bounds moons, I have one. It just makes you like very, and like Uranus will add to this, like very um just like you don't give a shit, you know? um like what people think of you and stuff. And there's a tendency to really to not to just really not be influenced by conditioning. And with Uranus, which is the planet that rules, conditioning, is there any aspects of Uranus? Yeah, it's conjunct your moon. So you do have a Capricorn moon, but you're very like it's it's like there's so many portals within it, right? There's so much more than just a Capricorn moon with all these conjunctions. And the fact that Saturn is I guess it's the second for this one. I'm gonna drink a lot of liquids towards my throat. Um, yeah, I don't want to lose my voice. Anyways, so I want to speak about, yeah. So with the moon, right? Um, in Capricorn, it's a very difficult placement. Um, it makes someone who typically experience their mother not, but like with these conjunctions, like it kind of pushes some of the difficult part of that away, and there's no hard aspects. Um, but they could have experienced either their mother or their whoever was like the least dominant parent. Because my brother has exactly what you have, by the way, just so you know. A Capricorn moon with um Uranus and Neptune. I just think he doesn't have Saturn. He's born in 93, born in 89. I'm born in 90. Um, yeah, so Saturn was somewhere else. Probably like over here. Or yeah, actually I know where Saturn is. It was right here when he was born. But yeah, so it creates someone, and if it's in the second house, who is able to be a channel. They have pure psychic abilities, right? But because it's Capricorn, a lot of times it takes until that Saturn return, which you went through recently. Where's your Saturn 13? Yeah, you've been gone through your Saturn return. So I imagine that a lot opened up for you around spirituality, around, your like, and I don't know if you were like very in your earth, because people who are really, really earthy, they have issues believing spirituality, usually, oftentimes. They want things to be proven. Although it doesn't mean that like, anyone can believe in anything, right? It really has a lot to do also with your early environment. What kind of, like, what was your mother like? Like, you could have like everything in Capricorn, but if you had a mother that you respected a lot, who was very intelligent, and who was, that you trusted, and who was very into astrology, then you'd probably be into astrology. So, anyways, Neptune conjunct Moon, it creates an empath, someone who's like a sponge for energy, right? Um, Sometimes it can be overwhelming to the point to where they just take too much in. Um, and Uranus being an out of bounds planet, and the moon being an out of bounds planet, means that those two energies with your Mars and Gemini, um, like there's like an energy of like no holding you back. Um, if you think of an out of bounds moon, it's like the sun has like an orb of like, so if the moon's out of bounds, and it's all astronomy stuff that I can't explain to you, but it's like, imagine the sun has a certain like area it can guard, or that it's like where it's based like the equatorial equinox and the ecliptic and stuff like that. Um, so if it's like in the declination is 22.5 degrees. So if a planet, because in astrology, we're only looking at longitude. So it's like if you're looking at the world and you're only looking at like, you know, um, like for example, New York being on a similar longitude is like, I don't know, Lisbon. I think I'm just like kind of guessing, but lives in Portugal. Um, but like, obviously they're extremely far away. You're not looking at the latitude. So the parallels, they look at the latitude too. Um, but yeah, so just like the conjunction of Moon and Neptune, it creates that individual who is so tapped into like the collective unconscious. Because they're Capricorn Moon, they have these stuck emotional patterns that they sort of need to get past. I literally never started the clock. So, yeah, when it's out of bounds and it's like Uranus, it's like, you're gonna, like, as long as you're able to get past like any kind of like perfectionism and self-criticism, like there's a huge tendency for Catmans to be really highly self-critical, and expect way too much of themselves and not have, like, from themselves, and not have enough self-compassion. Self-compassion, I always say, it's like the idea of treating yourself how you would treat a best friend, right? Not just ragging on yourself when you have a shortcoming. And it represents, it's Venus, right? In your chart, which is in Taurus, which is a very well placed Venus, which signifies that, um in Venus, let's see if there's any yeah, I mean, it's opposite Pluto, so there could really be some issues with accessing self-love, and romantic love, which is just a mirror. So a lot of it comes like when you have a Capricorn moon, it's very, very karmic because it's ruled by Saturn, and it has to do with crystallized emotional patterns that need to be liquefied. The moon is ruled by Cancer, which is water. The moon likes to just flow, like emotions like to just flow. When you see a cat get in a fight with another cat, what do they do after? They shake it off, right? You learn about somatic psychology. You understand that everything is stored in the body. So that's very important because Capricorn moons can really repress emotions. They can be the one, the people in their family that have to like kind of step up, like if early in their lives, um, parents or just whatever the family system equated to just something didn't work, there's just something that made them have to really step up and be their own parent. That's a tendency for that. And they'll have a very interesting way of connecting to the world. Very, very strong intuition. And even though you're a Capricorn moon, it's like a Capricorn moon slash Pisces slash Aquarius. um, because of the Uranus and the Pisces, or the Uranus and the Neptune. So what that does is that it gives you the ability when you're sitting in with your earth energy in meditation or in anything that soothes that shuts down that mercurial brain that can be prone to overthinking. It can bring downloads, right? It can quite literally bring downloads. And you'll be someone who is aiming to, like, moon. When I see moon Uranus, I always know that the person has a very special life purpose. Like it's like a very big sign of a light worker. And someone who might even like a lot of times, like there's like a lot, like being in Capricorn, which is very, very tied to tradition, ancestry, karma. There's something there. There's a lot of karma with the family. Um and yeah, and in many ways I've seen it. They are the ones who are meant to break some type of like very long standing cycle in their family, like that's been passed down from generation to generation. um for example, um toxic, like I don't like to use the word toxic masculinity, um but the notion of men not being encouraged to be in touch with their feminine side. That would be an example. Or to speak of it, it could be anything. The key is that you are connected to this very earthy, in this realm, in this existence, in this time energy, while also you're connected to this, what I call, it's Stephen Forrest. is one who had this name, but the ambassadors into this solar system, which is Neptune and Uranus. They're the ambassadors. They carry energies from a different a different galaxy, right? One of higher consciousness. They're portal. And to have 1 second. So yeah, to have these planets on your moon, which is like, your moon is how you feel. It's where where you live within yourself. It's your emotions. It's the most important part of all astrology, hands down. I used to say like 51, 50-50 of the sun, then I would say 51-49. And now I just say it's they're both really important, obviously. It's like a yin and yang, but one of them is more crucial to your happiness and to your ability to be comfortable. So I believe the moon is the most important part, and even Vedic astrology will back that up as well. But um, yeah, like the sun, it's just like there's less on the line, which is it's kind of like it's a little bit off topic, but it's just an interesting metaphor of kind of how off Western culture is by the fact that it's so obsessed with the sun sign, right? Um, but it ignores the one that really, really matters, the one that's really, really like way deeper and way more difficult to access. It prefers like imagine like if we were like in a society where we were like, oh, what sign are you? And you were talking about like your uh can't think of an example because they're all important, but like I don't know, you were talking about your just your Jupiter sign or something like that, It could be weird. So yeah, there's definitely some connection there between the kind of obsession with the masculine, rejection of the feminine, and the patriarchal society, and it's just a synchronicity. So I'm curious, and this is the first time I've had this idea. I need to write it down. Sorry, I have ideas to write down. Will this sync? Okay, I wrote down something that hopefully makes sense to me tomorrow. But regardless, yeah, like so the moon is your emotions. It's how you live within yourself. It's what you need to feel comfortable, to feel secure. So to have it with in Capricorn, you feel like you're moving towards something like important in your life. You need to feel like um you're achieving, like you're of real use to society. But people who have Cap moons need therapy. Like they need healing. They're like it's literally like the one moon sign where I automatically kind of say like um you should 1 second. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so we continue. And we see that once you can, as I say, liquefy these crystallized emotional patterns through that process of healing, everything opens up. And that's where you can be psychic and you can be receiving flashes of downloads. And you can have this just really amazing internal existence. But the only thing that limits you or that could limit you is your own human self. So the more you lean into the spiritual metaphysical world, the better off you are. So, and this is shown in many parts of your chart, karmically. North Node in Pisces, right? The North Node is the mountain never climbed in past lives. It represents where we're trying to get to in this lifetime. Pisces is the most spiritual sign in the zodiac, the last sign, the sign of complete karmic completions, right? Of so many things. So that, and then 12th house Pluto. Pluto and North Node are what I look at as the most important parts of the chart in terms of the karma. So to have them both, related to Pisces, it's very, 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 very key. Um, Hold on. I'm sorry, I keep saying hold on, but I'm getting summoned. Some family business that I can't just not answer. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, overcoming that, overcoming whatever shows up when I talk about um kind of stuckness. Because and I wish my brother would understand this too, because like I said, you guys have this similar thing going on here. On the other side of that Capricorn moon, which I have a whole article about, by the way, about how I wrote about how much more difficult it is for men who have Capricorn and Scorpio moons in this society than in women. I'm not sure if you followed me back then, but it was one of my better articles. Um, because women are more easily able to speak about emotions, and Capricorn moons had they tend to have this like energy where it's like they feel like other people expect them to be the tough ones that can endure anything. So they will quite literally suffer in silence, and it can be linked like to depression, um, melancholic tendencies. But when there's a certain evolutionary point that's reached, like in your case, um, and it's in the second house, so it has to do with values, which is Taurus. Um, which to me, it's like if you ever did have like a materialistic kind of viewpoint, which is highly possible because your, sun and moon are Taurus and Capricorn, which, it's very material. But that would lead to a lot of suffering because it's really against it, there's a lot of been there, done that with. So your chart's kind of a trick. It's like God is trying to kind of trying to make it a little tricky for you, because he set your chart up in a way that's like, made for success in the material world, but then your highest like self, it's way more about the metaphysical. Now, another way that's shown is through the South Node, like like who I was in the past life, my past life tendency in Virgo, 10th house. This would indicate someone who has kind of mastered the area of success, of big picture career success, and it's in Virgo. So someone who's innately responsible, organized, Virgo is also, very related to service. But the thing when you have a Virgo South Node and Pisces North Node is that Virgo, as you know, at its lower energy, as you may know, can kind of be like OCD-ish, it can kind of be like worrying and so anxious and worrying about so many things, that it loses touch with the connection that everything has, which is what Pisces is all about, right? It loses touch of the oneness, as you say. So the Pisces North Node is trying to push you away from just an intellectual understanding of the divine and towards a actual experience of feeling it, like a tangible one, a tangible connection. So yeah, very important stuff. But I'll speak a little bit more about that later. But yeah, so yeah, the Neptune, is back to your moon, like very important. Yeah, there's like psychic abilities potentially, and it's really based on values and on not subscribing to materialistic values, on subscribing to more spiritual values, and having like a strict moral code that you abide to, that you make all your decisions based on that. That's very important, because there is a lot of money karma here. I imagine you're born to a poor family. I'm not saying that because the only thing I know about you is that you're from Kazakhstan. You could be I've had tons of, not tons, but I've had a good amount of royalty from countries like that, So like, I don't know. But, this is just what the astrology is saying, right? When you have all these planets in the second, Uranus on its own makes things really up and down financially. It can create minimalists, people who just kind of reject like the matrix, if you want to call it that. And Neptune creates a level of fog around the money. And Saturn, until you turn 30, Saturn return, it can restrict the free flowing energy of the money. So, and then the moon, as you know, with the moon, what is the moon? The moon is up and down. It's always changing. So, you definitely have money karma, and the key being a Capricorn, which is also, or being a Taurus with a Capricorn moon. Give me one moment, please. I'm gonna pause it this time. All right, I'm back. I'll get back to the GF for a second. But anyways, so basically, what I'm trying to explain to you is that your moon is a portal. It's purely a portal. It's very, very rare that you see this. And when you do, it's like there's like, yeah, stuck emotional patterns that once they get overcome, it opens up this like this limitless world of spirituality, which obviously is an amazing thing. That aside, you know, just being a Taurus in the sixth house, you will be someone who is pulled, as I said, like on a karmic level, pulled towards the material. You know, with that grand trine, you know, of Earth planets. And I know that the South Node isn't really part of a grand trine, but in this case, it makes sense from, you know, from the way I'm explaining it, that there's a pull, a karmic tendency to be super earthy, right? And then in this lifetime, you are also super fucking earthy. So it's like you're trying to be all like Piscean and spiritual and in touch with God and not, you know, the lower Virgo South Node of doubting, like you know, you're just like really like being in like the scientific, everything has to be proven type energy would be a good example of it. Worrying about like the little things that get in the way of the big picture. It's about just complete surrender. And yeah, like there's so many parts of your chart that do not support that. And that's because it's a divine test. So by being able to create that set of values, by being able to continuously ponder and move into new spiritual realms, whether it's studying astrology or just like studying or learning about, you know, some you know, studies of life after death, or any kind of esoteric spiritual type thing, philosophical thing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. um it's just about continuously broadening your horizons. And I believe that despite having lots of earth, the out of bounds energy is going to make you very nonconformist. And you're born in, yeah, 89. So yeah, but I do believe that in all likelihood, it probably was a process to and I don't even know your involvement with spirituality and astrology, if it's just like a innate interest, or if it's something, a lot of my clients, like they, it's a little bit more than just like an interest. It's like, you know, it's something that they're really like. Some of them, yeah, they just want to like find out about their astrology. That's it. I make a good amount, but then there's a lot of them that they want to, like, you know, go deeper and see what I have to say about them potentially doing something in that world. But regardless, you know, your work life and your in being of service in whatever way you know you are is very, very important to you. And there um you know, there's a lot of karmic debt. And I'm not saying it's like bad karma, but you know, you're definitely like a light worker who's here to help, because I don't see, you know, I don't see, I mean, I see three very hard aspects. Um, but I don't see things that would make me think that you have like bad karma or whatever. Like, or that you're, I mean, everyone has karma. It's just like someone could have like the worst karma ever, but then they decide to not work on it in this lifetime. I mean, we don't know exactly how it works, but you know, you don't deal with all the karma from all your lifetimes at once, obviously. So, um, overall, the hardest aspects you have I wouldn't consider the conjunctions of the moon difficult. I consider them to be, besides Saturn, but you already have a Capricorn moon. Saturn kind of like it kind of holds you back and keeps you in the material. So it's like diving in. It's like the metaphor, and this is a beautiful parallel. Like when I talk about 12th house Pluto, I always give the metaphor. Saturn is rock, right? Rock represents metaphorically the material world, what's known, what's seen, right? What we can touch. Neptune is the spiritual world. It's the ocean. Everything's connected. And there's depth. It's mysterious. Like we don't really know. We think we know. So the 12th house Pluto metaphor I would give is it's about jumping off the materialist cliff of Saturn into the endless sea of Neptune, but it takes a high level of spirituality. So it's kind of like having like two north nodes. It's like it's like your north node's in Pisces and your Pluto's in the house of Pisces. So that would like really indicate someone who's here for like spiritual enlightenment. Very rare that I see these two together. The very, very high spiritual chart. But like, yeah, there is a blockade, and that's the tricky part. So that's why you're probably an advanced soul, because I just don't think that the divine would make it so would create those kind of like roadblocks, if you will, of having this Earth tendency, and then having like your sun and moon and Earth. Maybe that's the karma. Regardless, the chart is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the 7th house of relationships. So that's a very fortunate placement. And it tends to give a lot of luck, but you also have Mars there. So it tends to give a lot, and weren't they in parallel? Yeah. Um, so yeah, it tends to give like a lot of luck in terms of your partners and being able to like learn a lot from them. And Jupiter and Gemini gives one the gift of gab. It's very good for intelligence, very good for communication. And with Mars there, it is definitely about like there can be lots of quarrels that happen in love. Lots of there can be but also a ton of drive. Like it can create someone who's aspected by square or opposite Uranus. It can create someone who really like puts a lot of their energy into trying to find love, but the fact that it's in Gemini can make one bored very easily. And then you add the fact that it's opposite Uranus, and you can have someone who gets in relationships. Now I have to add that the Jupiter makes you very lucky in terms of like the quality, the quality of relationships that you would have. People with Jupiter 7th house, it's like they always like they get lucky with their partners. But the goal is to have partnerships that help you move towards the Pisces energy. So they should be spiritual, and that's one of the issues with the descendant and in Gemini is that Gemini is very, very surface level sometimes at its lowest. But at its highest, Gemini can be very curious, right? That's what it's if you do encounter Geminis, I don't even know if you're married. I don't know anything about you, but um, you know, it's very important to understand that there's a high, low, medium, everything between manifestation of every sign. And yeah. So definitely like with the love, it's someone who keeps you on your feet, where there's a really like where the lover is like your best friend on like an intellectual level. It's like Mars and Gemini. Um and then Venus, in Taurus, where there is a real level of stability and consistency, right? Also, Venus in Taurus likes the finer things in life, so it usually gives one expensive tastes, um, which is something else that can keep you trapped in the kind of material rat race type deal. And it's not saying like, if you have a really good job that you've worked really good career that you've worked really hard to achieve. It's not saying leave that and just start doing charity. No, it's speaking more to the balancing out of those energies. Because with South Node on the 10th house cusp and North Node, fourth house, there's been an imbalance of inner life and outer life, and there's been too much of the outer life stuff. So it's really about making time to come into yourself, into your own energy. Very, very important. And yeah, so then I'm just like, yeah, okay. So then, yeah, the Mars opposite Uranus, you have to like, it's almost like you have to like have some kind of physical activity. Sun opposite Pluto, same thing. Like you can become very stressed if you don't have either like a creative or, and I post out these aspects on my Instagram. I read the comments. People pretty much agree, like across the board, like whenever I post something about like um these types of aspects, that there's a need to that there can be a really tense energy that builds up unless they have a release. And a lot of times with Pluto um opposite the sun, there can be issues of control um and resistance. It's like ego, right? It's like ego versus soul. That's like the battle here in your chart. Like really, really playing out. Which it's just highly, highly pronounced in your chart. And it plays out in everyone's life, but in your chart it's very, 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 very played out and emphasized. So Pluto opposite sun can create issues with the father, maybe overly controlling. There could be some trauma associated with the father. And also Chiron in the eighth house, I've seen it associated with loss of loved ones. I mean, that's something that isn't a prediction I'm making, because it can also just indicate someone who's meant to be going through death rebirth transformations of their own. But more times than not, when I've seen Chiron in the eighth house, it's related to losing people that were important to them. But it could also be, this is the thing about astrology. Like it can be so many things. It could also be, you know, trauma around sexuality, or trauma around intimacy, vulnerability, even around the occult, the esoteric. So there's a lot, obviously, a lot of potentials, a lot of potentials. But yeah, like overall, overall, the theme that's prevailing there is that, in Cancer too, that you're able to be someone who can heal other people through, through emotions, like through your own emotional healing journey, being able to, you know, help someone else through theirs. Now, the moon aspects are really good. So, like I said, I think I said, like, probably, like, if the moon's the mother, then I would guess that even if there was like issues, that the issues would have become better with age. With the father, there could be, yeah, some level of darkness there. But what can happen with Sun opposite Pluto is that it's like there's a huge need to surrender the ego. And Taurus sometimes gonna have big egos at times. Every sign can. I don't think I'm singling out Taurus here. Because sometimes they can be like, very, very selfless and very, very, they're often actually very, very, very kind. But yeah, with the opposite of Pluto, it adds like a scorpionic twist where it's like there's this big question, which is another this it's another one of these like rites of passage, if you will, of pulling you into the darkness so that you can heal from it, so you can transform and quote unquote rise like a phoenix, right? So um the way that can play out though is that there can be difficulty with self-love and valuing the self. The Capricorn moon can add to that by making one overly critical of themselves at times. And they have to really go through the dark night of the soul and face their deepest karmic fears, um, and just go head on. And then when that's done, if that's not done, it can result in like lots of power struggles in relationships, um, very intense relationships where until self-love is learned with the Venus, there can like be attracted to like very dark, kind of like toxic relationship cycles and people. Um, and it's really just like an unconscious, it's really just like an unconscious pattern based on like wanting to like almost punish yourself in a way. It's very, yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, it just really Venus opposite Pluto is very difficult for acquiring self-love, because the opposition can just create all kinds of events and circumstances that are highly difficult to just take in. And yeah, just really put a lot of darkness ahead of the path of true self-love. And the key is deepening spirituality, like the North Node in Pisces. See, it all goes back to North Node with me. Um, so lots of letting go and lots of surrendering and lots of just like accepting that, you know, your karma is your karma. All the circumstances are the way they are for a reason, and that they're meant to be turned into superpowers. No, nothing in the chart is inherently bad or good. A really, really quote unquote pleasant aspect could be turned into complacency, while a hard aspect can be turned into superpower. It's like I give the metaphor sometimes of like there's the athlete who's naturally gifted and just gets really lazy, and then there's the one who has to work really, really hard, but then ends up better than the other one because of the hard work. So yeah, there's definitely like with Capricorn moons and with all these placements, like a lot of healing that the person needs to do throughout their life. But on the other side, it's like just amazing and just pure bliss, pure divine bliss. Um, and yeah, really, really like working in kind of like the hidden realms, like the more discrete hidden realms, is where a lot of this happens. And then yeah, and I talked about like the Mars and Uranus and how you have like that can like make someone like really a big risk, someone like who's like a huge risk taker. and who goes like over the top sometimes to like show their like very, very rebellious. Um very, very rebellious, doesn't want to conform at all, and who might, yeah, go over the top in their efforts to prove that. So yeah, it's basically, it just goes back to the need for a creative outlet, or an outlet of service, which is showing up more. And with the midheaven in Libra conjunct Black Moon Lilith, that can create a kind of darker tendency to always like want to one up people, like to always, like it can create like a big perfectionist tendency in things related to career, and also, since it's in the 11th house, like working with other people. It can create issues with friends, like where friends actually become jealous of you, and where there's like quarrels with friends. And the dark side of Libra, right, is people pleasing, and like putting other people above yourself at the expense of yourself. So yeah, it's obviously very important to overcome this. And let's see here. So yeah, like I guess like a question, if we have a follow-up that we would discuss, would be like your relationship with power. Your relationship with power, and because like in control, and willingness to take spiritual risks, I would call them. Because Taurus, just as an energy in its own, it is very, very happy with things. It's a lot of times there can be complacency because it's ruled by Venus, and it can be very, especially with Venus there too, very happy with what is. But your chart is showing all these signs of someone who's really trying to break out of what is, of the norm. Esmond, stop. Okay. Esmond. Esmond. Jesus. So yeah. Um, that's that. But yeah, then overall, like, so how does the Sagittarius rising, like, how does that help with everything? Well, Sag rising people, they see life as a chain of adventures, right? It creates a very adventurous spirit, and it creates someone who, who wants to travel, who wants to really, like, they're truth seekers. They want to see how different people think from all over the world. I know you're born in Kazakhstan, and you live in New Jersey, so it's like, really wanting to to move around the world, right? Um, well, water. And one other part of your chart that really supports that is the Mars in Gemini, just on its own. Even the fact that it's opposite Uranus, it will make someone who, like, another thing about that is that there can be like a restlessness, and like the grass is green on the other side kind of energy, like always needing to change, whether it's like because it's conjunct the moon, so that's like, like always wanting to change the um place of residence, like always wanting to move. Um, in relationships, it can be like the same thing, where something, where there's the thought that like something better exists. And I just made a video the other day about compromise in relationships, and it's one of the best videos I made in a long time. I don't know if you saw it, but there's it's I would definitely check that out and watch the whole thing. Um, but yeah, like the Mars and Gemini creates that curiosity, and it is conjunct Chiron, so that can also, like Mars and Gemini, like they use they use their words are weapons. Like they're very very good at articulating, and the as I said before, the Jupiter in Gemini is also like that. Um, but the Chiron conjunct it can definitely create some some pain in relationships, and where you confront a lot of your like the arena for which like one of the arenas for which you meet your shadow is in the relationship. So really a lot of it is like that 6/12 axis, that Virgo Pisces axis, right? Um, which I relate to being like, being in the material world, or being in the spiritual world, and the need to balance the two. So yeah. Hmm. Then like more kind of with love, you do have a ninth house Juno in Leo. So, and it's conjunct the South Node, so that would mean that, like, all of your important love relationships are very much are very very karmic, and they're very fated. Um, and sixth house Venus, sometimes what I've noticed about that is that a lot of the relationships are meant, like, to, like, there's some like past life like imbalance where you're trying to uh like maybe one person wronged the other person in a past life, and it's about bringing balance to them, and having like karmic contracts with different people. But yeah, like one of the big lessons there with like a Gemini seventh house is like is about compromise, and about knowing that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and that like people sometimes with that can just like, have such a drive towards, and especially with the opposition of the Uranus, like when they, drive towards relationships, and they get in them, but then they feel like, if they feel stuck in any way, and this is the split in your chart, if they feel like they're, so like there's a this need, there's desire for stability, right? Um, and then also an aspect of Mercury, interesting. Um, but then when they get there, a lot of times, if there's anything that like makes them feel trapped, they want to dip out. But then you have the Black and Lilith in Libra, which can make the shadow something around maybe like codependency potentially, even, right? Or like staying, people pleasing potentially, um, staying in things that you're not meant to stay in, or yeah, putting other people's needs, because it's in the house of friends, but it's more about friends generally. But still, it could relate to relationships as well, for sure. Yeah, like putting other people's needs before your own, like always having to have the balance correct, the whole Libra thing. But yeah, like the Juno in the ninth house can make you, you're like, it's like your like marriage, like what you're looking for in marriage, and it could be a foreigner, someone from a different culture from you, someone who is in touch with their inner child, and who can have, a certain lightness to them, a certain fun, and I have a sip of water again. Yeah, someone who's like down to go on adventures with you and travel and experience the world, and who, you can like have like deep philosophical talks with, and who I'm not saying has to have the exact same worldview as you, but like, where you guys can kind of combine and raise your guys' worldview and your guys' view of truth, like a truth seeker kind of person, right? So I'm gonna go back, and stop share. Second. I just need to go to the bathroom. I'm just rereading your email. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think I've outlined a lot of what you said is like um potential weaknesses. Yeah, it's like it's just it's a chart that is only made for like a very, very advanced soul. To not have any water in your chart, right? Because like water, it's compassion, it's intuition, but you do have that with the Neptune on your moon, right? But like to still not have any personal planets in water, but then you know um have your North Node in Pisces, it's a hard ask. And then on the other hand, to have your South Node, the been there, done that, where you're not trying to repeat that in Earth and then have so much in Earth, it's just like it could come so easy for you to be living your South Node. There's a big difference between living your South Node, because you'll feel when you're living your South Node, like one, the universe will kind of block certain things, but two, you'll feel like you won't feel fulfilled. You won't feel innately like you're going towards where you're meant to be going towards, and it can lead to like these cycles of like just trying, whether it's through relationships, whether it's through moving, this and that. But the full on truth is that it's all within, and it's all in this spiritual advancement and maturity, and just the quest towards like compassion and faith, undying faith, right? So yeah, and moving away from like the kind of rigid structure that Virgo can sometimes build. Um, and it can also be very judgmental of self and others. So that's another tendency of Virgo South Node. Um, and as you know, like when you're doing that, that blocks your understanding of like and feeling more than understanding of like the oneness of the universe and everything related to that. So it's really, really based on strengthening your intuition. And it's good that you were raised in like a spiritual, your parents are open spiritually in that sense. Very, very good. But still, the opposition with Sun and Pluto, oftentimes it does indicate something, but it's not like such a strong opposition. I mean, it's 8 degrees separated, so but it still is one. It still is one. But yeah, you would have like learned a lot, like because of the Venus opposite Pluto. Um, a lot of the dark night of the soul, yeah, would come from relationships. And lots of pain that leads you to deepen yourself spiritually, as I said before. And I repeat things that are important in these readings. So, okay, so then you have Mercury and Taurus. Mercury, your brain, how you talk, how you think. It's well placed in the sixth house. Um, very, very good for like, day-to-day tasks. Um, liking to have like a nice routine, very good for like success in health and um yeah, like good for it just kind of it's good for everyday life communication and just putting thought towards that. Um And then like Mercury and Taurus usually places like lots of importance on like traditional information. And usually they want to like learn something like with proof, which is pretty cool that you're, into astrology. Because a lot of people, like I said, with that placement. But like the unaspected Mercury, a lot of times it makes someone just talk a lot. Um, and sometimes they can like lack a filter. And let me just double check. Sometimes it doesn't tell me. Okay, is there anything? Nope, no. Well, yeah, it's out of orb with the Pluto one. 12 degrees too far. So yeah, I mean it can just have that effect. And I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay, so back to where I was. So according to me, headaches. So yeah, with the nodes square. Okay, so but then you have your nodes squaring Mercury, which is interesting. So there's definitely some skip step, I believe, in past lives. Like yeah, so like there's some skip step around like communication, especially since you're South and it's ruled by Mercury, which is squaring it. Just like communication and thought. Um, like there's like a big need in this lifetime to reevaluate how you think and how you speak and the whole cognitive process, right? And because it's an aspect, it usually makes one kind of speak just with no filter. That said, and they don't have any checks and balances with relation to that. But it can also be with thinking, where there's like no limits to their thought and to how. So it can sometimes lead to overthinking. But in Taurus, it's more chill than it would be like Virgo or Gemini, or over talking, overthinking, which that plays perfectly into the need to zen, calm down the mind and be in touch. Like the body mind connection is very, very important also with all the sixth house. Um, so yeah, besides that, where's your series? So your series conjunct your sun. And basically that it's like kind of like your second moon, but like not as strong. It's like how you feel cared for, and there's definitely like and how you nurture and how you feel nurtured. So it's like in Taurus, it's about just feeling nurtured when you have that stability, and security on every level, emotional, physical, spiritual, even financial, all that stuff, right? But also like there's like like when it comes to love, like desire to be touched and have the senses engaged, right? um Nurtured in like very practical ways, tangible ways. And then that's like um kind of also how you would care for others as well. And then the Venus is right there, so like it supports it completely. And also like people who have this energy sixth house, they can show their loves Venus like by the things they do. And like healthy living is very important and very good at it. It's also really good for having like a peaceful work environment, and good like relationships with the people you work with. And yeah, I already talked about how Cat's making you play fetch like a dog. He was actually a dog in a past life. My psychic told me. So funny and so true. Yeah, so like romance and reliability go hand in hand, but then also there's that need for that excitement. But like, you know, no human is perfect. And some people go through life, just obsessed with the idea. I know you said you've been married, so I'm not saying this is you, but like I talk to a lot of people, and some of them, they are just stuck in this idea of this perfect, twin flame person is going to come and rescue them and make everything perfect and this, that, and the third. And I think it's a very dangerous idea to have. Not that I think twin flames don't exist. Um, but yeah, it typically gives like a steady approach to relationships, someone that can prove themselves to be solid over time, taking things slow. And yeah, and it's very good for being very good with finances and very secure as finances. Um, yeah, but in the opposition with Pluto can kind of until self-love is learned, it can make one like self-sabotage a lot. Um, so yeah, what else? What else? What else? Yeah, so it's like the 12th house Pluto. Yeah, it's like this huge karmic need to explore like the unconscious realms, basically, as I said, and making the, so it goes back to the therapy, like lots of Capricorn moons. I always say every Capricorn moon get therapy. But making the unknown conscious, making the unconscious conscious. Um, and yeah, until that point's learned, there can be, Pluto is about crises, so it can have someone who's just always at the center of crises, but they don't understand why, and they're just like, why the fuck does this keep happening? It's all about the inner work. Okay, I went over that. Vertex, Leo, ninth house. So basically, like your doorway to higher awareness is through traveling, through exploration of higher truth, traveling physically or metaphorically. And then in Leo, it's through expressing the inner child, right? Having fun, being creative, um, having pursuits that do that, right? That get you closer to your authentic self. And then, yeah, and then part of fortune in the fifth house in Aries kind of goes back on that and says that your flow state is kind of like when you're being independent and when you're creating like a spiritual relationship with yourself while also doing this it goes right back to the whole, inner child and being in touch with that part of you that, any parts that may have been like broken away at any point in time. So yeah. Um, then Vesta. So yeah, that's the second house is just really good for it's another it's one that is making one very committed to their values, but also finances is important, and they can be like super very tenacious in terms of like, meeting those needs. And Taurus obviously, like they like that security, right? It's just about the balance. That's what I'm saying. Um, yeah, you just have like mad like leadership, like boss energy, really could, do well in any kind of like any kind of job, because like sixth house is really about like the day-to-day life. So I think that you really shine in your if you have like a daily job, you probably really shine in that. And then even having the midheaven in Libra can indicate like just, beauty, something related to beauty in the career, and or just like a very like harmonious like work environments. um like a career where like social skills are highlighted. Um, yeah, but there has to be like a level of peace. You can't work in like this crazy hectic area. Like that's no good. And okay, let's see what's going on with the stars. If there's any big stars. Or I didn't talk about Pallas, did I? The third eye. Did I? I literally can't remember if I did because the person who just had the reading before had the same Pallas placement. I don't think I did. But yeah, really Pallas and Pisces is just like ultimate third eye energy. It's just like gives the meditative mind. Um, when you can sit and meditate, you can like really get those downloads I talked about with the moon and the Uranus and Neptune. Um, and yeah, it's also really good for like any kind of artistic expression. So Pallas in the fourth is fourth is about home life, family life. So those will be kind of like muses for you and your creativity. And also like it goes back to the idea of like this wisdom being within you, not needing to like search for it anywhere outside yourself. So things like journaling and any kind of creative work where you get deeper with yourself is beneficial. Um, yeah, and also it can make someone who like um likes to really express their true creativity within their own home. Okay, let's pull up the stars. Six stars. I have to look really close because it's hard to see. There's so many of them. Hmm. Okay, so nothing there. Oh, oh nine. It's like literally like the exact time of the eclipse right now, or like not exact. It's like in a few hours, maybe 2 hours probably. Impressed I'm not like super agitated. But anyways, okay, so nothing there. I think it's the fact that I'm doing astrology that's cool. Okay. Oh, and wow. So you have Mars with the Beetlejuice? No. Yeah, Beetlejuice. And it is oh my eyes. It's too bright in here. Yeah, very, very close. So Mars and Beetlejuice. I'll keep that one in my head. Ooh, shit. You got a big one. Jupiter and Aldebaran. That is massive. That's one of the four royal stars. That's just like one of the best things you can possibly have. And yeah, just like Sun, I already talked about series. Like you really like to nurture, like you because you like kind of like a nurture energy. Um, okay, and then Hamal also, and Lust conjunct Venus. That's a very sexy aspect. Lust is about seduction, so it can just make like it can make people really attracted to you in like a sexual way. I'm just gonna tell you how it is. And then Algol's on your fucking Mercury. Damn, you got a lot going on. Okay, so let's start with Beetlejuice, which is typically, but with Mars, I'm trying to think of what that creates because Beetlejuice is so yeah. So I'm gonna look this one up. So yeah, with Mars, it makes one a very good leader, basically. Very organized. It's good for money. Um, and more like a more like cautious, reserved kind of leader and organizer. Someone who can really just like make shit happen, you know? And it's good. It gives lots of luck in any kind of like if you're like a kickboxer or something. Um, like any kind of athletics. Or just fighting in general. Okay, now the amazing one, Aldebaran and Jupiter. So Aldebaran is like one of the four real stars. It is like so lucky. Jupiter's a planet of luck, expansion. So to have Jupiter on that is just amazing for just achieving success and honor and recognition. And sometimes it's like recognition that's not even earned, you know? Um, yeah, they just kind of get it. A lot of times they're born in a, so sometimes people, a lot of times people who have this are born, or marry rich or something like that. How close is it though? It is within like exactly a degree pretty much. So, um, but like, okay, so this is a thing, like, unless there's like a, it's pursued in a conscious way, it will all be lost, right? Because like the negative side of this is complacency, right? Of becoming lazy if things come too easy to the person. So, but yeah, it's like the only bad thing you can say. It's really, really like good for honor and just overall luck. It's like one of the, it's if not the luckiest, like one of the luckiest stars. So yeah, like lust on Venus is just pure seductive ability. Um, and then there was, what was the other one? Oh yeah, Algol on your Mercury. So Algol is known as, it has a very bad reputation in astrology. Like about misfortune, decapitation, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, Algol is about like Medusa. So it can sometimes like create like learning difficulties. Um, and it can add like a really, really obsessive, compulsive dimension to one's thinking. Overthinking, we already talked about that. So it can add kind of, yeah, like a darkness to that, right? Um, and let's see. Yeah. So the key is to like just attach yourself to like a great cause, and to not self-destruct through your thinking, through your self-talk and all that, and everything I've talked about in the reading so far applies to this. Like, no, like the fact that you have Aldebaran is just like so much more like important. Um, okay. So yeah, then Hamal is like another. It's kind of it's a difficult one. Also, Mars Saturn, so it can be quite malicious, and that's why there's just a huge need for someone who has like the sun with. But like then you have Ceres on it too, which balances it out. You see, that's kind of how it is. So it's just like um yeah, you have to like really watch out for like taking like ri physical risks. There can be it's not an indication of like a fighter. So if you're a professional fighter, it'd be really good. Um, but there's not much info on Sun and Hamal. Like, let me actually search it. So come on, tell me. It says potentially evil associates. You have to watch your back with who you associate with, which goes back to the Black Moon Lilith in the 11th house of friends. You gotta watch your friends. And then there can also be like overindulgence um in like the kind of hedonistic parts of life, which like sex and stuff, which lust also um can do. Um so yeah, so lust in Venus, like it can literally like lust, it's what it sounds like. It can there can be difficulties separating love and lust. It makes someone very sexy, um, charismatic in that sense. Um, and like they can sometimes just like to get move past the bullshit, and just like if they like someone, like see where it can go, And Venus in Taurus is obviously very, sensual oriented, so it's just a possibility. They could like to quickly. It says could like to get quickly physically involved with the person of interest. Um, likes people that are charismatic and harmonious, depending on the sign house involved. Could dislike the typical ladies' men or femme fatale. Could like to get quickly physically involved with their person of interest. There you go. So that's it. That is it. That is it. I hope you enjoyed. I have no idea. I usually time these. This one I did not. I mean, I did, but like it's way off. Let me check one other thing really quickly. Okay, that's good. So yeah, let me know if you want to do the follow-up session and or the now in the current astrology. I said before, that one is a live one, and it is very, very nice and very deep. So thank you. And yeah, I just kind of like went through everything, and I think feels complete. So it's obviously a very karmic chart. Lots was said. Thank you so much, and talk to you later. Ciao.